Hi, welcome to FrightFest. How do you feel about being here this weekend?
Well, 55 years old and it's my first trip to the UK, and to be able to premiere a film that I've been involved in one of the most important genre festivals in the world that happens to be in the UK and in London, I'm tickled pink.
So Lifechanger, I've seen the film. I think it's really, really inventive. It's quite refreshing for the genre. Tell me about your involvement with it and what drew you to the project.
So Justin and I have been working together for a number of years on various projects, and we tried to make this film through conventional government funding in Canada, and unfortunately that didn't happen. So I basically said to Justin, I want to go after some private money and see if we could make the film, and I was able to do that, and so we started rolling cameras in November 2017. I like the film because it's not what people perceive as being traditional genre. It's not like your typical slasher movie or whatever. There's a lot of intellectuality to the film, I feel, and a lot of different types of emotional beats in the film, be it laughter or sadness or anger. And I feel like there's a little bit of the lead protagonist in all of us to some extent. I have this fear of dying. I've always had it since I was a little kid. And in this sense, in a sense, the lead protagonist didn't want to die. He never wanted to die, and he would do whatever it needed to happen to keep him alive. I think there's a bit of that. I relate to that a bit. Not that I would go and kill people because of it, but. I kind of understand him, but I also understand, like, when you fall in love with somebody, also you will do whatever it takes to be with that person, and I totally relate to that too. So it was a film. When Justin gave me the first draft to read, I completely said, well, we got to make this. This is totally something that I am drawn to, and I mean, this is the first horror movie I've ever made. I mean, I've produced over 55 movies in Canada, and never a horror movie. So for me, this is a coming out party, I guess you could say, for me, in a really great way, because it's not the norm in the genre. And I'm not saying that, that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just think that I find that in today's society, and especially in the genre, when our world changes, be it because of racism, anti-Semitism, or whatever it is, this genre, more than any other genre, seems to be drawn to that, to tell stories that evoke those conversations about what we're going through in society today, and I think that part of Lifechanger is that.
Yeah, I would agree. One of the things that really struck me about it is that it is really a story of human connection, as opposed to an all-out horror gore fest or anything like that, and it is very much character-driven. What were the challenges in bringing this film to life?
So, I teach a indie producing course that I travel around Canada to teach, and I tell people, okay, so how do you make an indie movie? Well, you basically very few casts, very few locations, very few background performers, no stunts, no special effects, no animals, no kids, no none of that. Well, we used everything in that on our very, very limited budget. So everything that I preach, I went completely against to give Justin the ability to make the film that he wanted to make. And that's a challenge when you have limited funds. And sometimes, you cheapen yourself by doing certain things the cheap way because that's what you have to do. But fortunately, in my relationships with the industry in Canada allowed me to ask favors of my friends who do much bigger budget movies with me to help us make this one for what we had, and they were very gracious, and they're all super talented, and I wouldn't be here and the movie wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So it's developing the plan when you have a limited budget, and stretch that plan out as long as you can. Like, we started prepping this movie 8 months before we started shooting, where most independent films, they prep 3 or 4 weeks, a month, 5 weeks before they go to camera. I feel like when you have such limited funds and such an ambitious project, you need way more prep time to make sure that all of your ducks in a row, so you're not putting out fires on the day, right? So
So my last question for you is, what is your favourite horror film and why?
So, I mean, I have a few interesting films. Again, I don't watch a lot of horror films. The ones that I have watched, I like The Thing a lot. The Thing for me was one of the first films that really jumped out at me, but my all-time favorite, and it still is today, and I actually watched it on the plane coming to London, was Jaws. And to me, it is the movie that was one of the movies that inspired me. But the actual first movie that I ever saw that I wanted to become a filmmaker was a movie called The House of Wax, Vincent Price. I saw it when I was 9 years old. My father was watching it downstairs, and I went to say goodnight to him, and he was watching on television. I was like enamored by it, and I turned to my father and said, "That's what I want to do." And he said, "What?" I said, "I want to make that." And that was, 40 some odd years ago. So.
Well, best of luck with the film this weekend. I think it's going to go down a storm.
Thank you.
And yeah, good luck with everything.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you for your time.